Good afternoon, good evening to everyone. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, joining you from the breaking news show, this time from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And with me, as always, is Peter Thaler. He is in College Station, Texas, not too far away from me this time. And good morning,
Other side
Peter.
of the,
and,
we're just across the Gulf of Mexico from each other.
Yeah, and the weather is nice today. It's warm. It looks like it's blue sky, and I'm here at the pool. I'm staying at the Hyatt Centrix Hotel in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and it seems to be a wonderful day. How are things in College Station?
Well, I went walking this morning, and the weather is nice, and it's gotten a little cooler here. It's only 90 degrees, or about 30 degrees Celsius, and it's blue skies. And so we're doing okay. This is much better than the heat of the summer, which it's 90 degrees for us in Texas is cool. So
yes, and I'm the reason I'm in Florida is as many of you probably have seen on eTurbo News, I attended the business meeting for the Caribbean Tourism Organization in Cayman Islands to what they had together with the International Air Transport Association, IATA. And I returned last night on Cayman Airlines from Cayman to Miami, and I'm on my way back to Honolulu tomorrow. What I'm not really looking forward, it's a very long flight via Houston to Honolulu, but hopefully I make it in one piece.
And now, I might see you in the airport tomorrow. I have a flight to Washington at 7:30 in the morning. So I'll be in the Houston airport.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what time I get to Houston, but I have an hour and a half at the airport. I'm leaving here, I think, at 6:40 in the morning. So maybe I'll see you in Houston on the way. So
yeah, I might meet you at the airport. We'll be arriving. Our plane leaves at 7:30, so we'll be at the United Club to have breakfast before we get on the plane.
I think I'm going to get there later, actually, because when we leave here 6:45, I think my Honolulu flight leaves about 10:30. I'm on the nonstop. But let's see. We're going to figure it out. Anyways, just to give everyone an update on the conference, what was actually a very important conference for the Caribbean. For me, it was the first time visiting Cayman Islands. And when you hear Cayman Islands, you always hear about the financial industry. Some of the old movies talk about money laundering. What they're saying is absolutely not possible in the Cayman Island anymore. It's a British territory. So we hit the Cayman Island at a time when the nation was in mourning. So all the really fun stuff, the parties and the music was canceled, unfortunately, but that gave more room to really have a serious conference. And it was a serious conference. Actually, when I talked to the Honorable Minister of Tourism from Jamaica, Bartlett, who played a major role, said this was the best CTO conference he ever attended. And the main subject, as it has been for 20 some years, was connectivity within the Caribbean, and also to combine other markets to really make it a one Caribbean. The slogan for the Caribbean Tourism Organization has always been One Caribbean. And the idea is to promote the region jointly and have travel available between islands, what is pretty much impossible because air links are very rare, and you cannot easily go from one island to another. For example, on my flight yesterday on Cayman Air, we had passengers connecting to other islands like Barbados, and they had to go through Miami, had to deal with all this nonsense with customs and immigration in the US, rushing, trying to get on another flight outside the US, because in the United States, probably the only country in the world, there is no transiting. You have to enter the country, you have to have a visa, even if you only spent 2 hours in the US. It's very different from Europe. When you get to a country outside the Schengen area and you leave outside the Schengen area, you don't have to face any immigration. And that's how it should be. But it makes travel within the Caribbean quite a challenge. So the outcome,
and not only that, but the airlines are not coordinated as far as flights go. So you can often be stuck in Miami for 3 or 4 hours. And as you probably saw, Miami Airport is not exactly the most polite airport in the world. As a matter of fact, it's one of the
it's a zoo. And
terrible.
I can recommend to anyone, any US citizen who's listening to us, get the global entry. I have the global entry. You really fly through the system. It took me just minutes to get through immigration and customs also. But God forbid if you're a visitor, I saw lines there are probably miles long. I mean, they're not
But it's
moving.
not only the lines, it's the rudeness of the people working at Miami Airport. And if you
Well, I
need
haven't
to,
seen this. So for me, I didn't have any
well,
rudeness, so I couldn't really confirm this.
well, this is something that's well known around the world. And when you have to check in at the airport, people are incredibly rude to you. So it's not just going through the airport. It's, if you, for example, if I go from Houston to someplace transiting to Miami, I have to get off the plane. Now I don't have to go through customs. I don't have to do another line, but I have to deal with rudeness at every level, from the restaurants to the people working there. It's like they hate their passengers.
Well, and this is sometimes, and you can see this in Europe, how things are changing. When employers of any job are frustrated, this frustration has to come out. And when it comes out, I mean, like I've seen it with Lufthansa in Germany. People who worked for this airline for decades have been frustrated during the times when there's strikes almost every day, and nothing is moving. There's not enough employees, and they get yelled at day and night by passengers for something they simply cannot change. So I think it's a two-way street. Also, passengers should realize that there is a human being on the other end who doesn't own the airline, who only works for that
Well,
airline.
I think,
And
yeah, but we're not talking about the airlines. I'm talking about, and it's not recently. This has been over the last 2 decades. That when people come into Miami, they ask for directions. You go to a restaurant, you stop a police officer, you have to go through anything, any service at all that you need, you're treated like dirt. And Miami is known for rude as a rude airport.
okay, well, hopefully they can improve it. I have not seen it. I actually have seen many friendly people who were smiling. I saw the immigration officer who was calling me by first name because the machine didn't print the entry paper, and was very nice and wished me a good day. So maybe things are improving, Peter. I don't know, but
Well, I
let's hope
trained the
it's
people at
important.
Miami Airport, so I
Okay.
try to get. But it'll be interesting to hear your report, because you're going to have to go back to the Miami Airport, I assume, to fly to Houston.
Well, I'm actually going out of Fort Lauderdale this time.
Ah,
So,
so
but let's
your
when
date
it
is
comes,
highly questionable.
yeah, when I see this in the Cayman Island, talking about rudeness, it was really the opposite. People
Yeah.
on all levels I've seen going out of their way to be super nice to you, super
Okay.
accommodating. I've never seen it. I have to say, I've traveled all over the world, but this is kind of wasn't very impressive. People really try. I stayed at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, what of course is, many say, the best hotel in the country. But it was wonderful. I mean, service level was absolutely excellent. People know you by name. Literally, after you stay there for an hour, and they don't forget your name till you leave a week later, and it's really refreshing. And also, when you see in Cayman Islands, there are people working in the hospitality industry from 135 countries. So it's very global, very international. The country is very modern. I would say it seemed to be quite a bit more sophisticated and modern what I know in Hawaii. The airlines has brand new planes. They're less than 6 months old. And their hotels are nice and clean. So it was really a surprise to see this destination, because I personally really had not a good idea of how the Cayman Island is about, and it's an hour and a half flight from Miami, so it's close by. And but of course, it's just a stretch of an island. It's beautiful beaches. It doesn't have too much to offer outside. Yes, we visited some caves. It was interesting. There was a botanical garden, but it's not like maybe some other islands in the Caribbean, like Jamaica, for example, where
The
you have
Caymans
a
are
lot
really a
of the
good place to
culture.
rest. The Caymans are
Yes.
really a good place if you just want to relax and rest, and you're not looking to do much. The Caymans are wonderful, and they're very quiet. And I've been there many times, and one of the nice things is it's a good place to sleep.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's what it is. But we had very little time to sleep at the conference. It was a very busy conference. Discussions were very active, and a lot of people this time showed up. Also, a lot of the high-level people, the ministers, and really, when I summarize the outcome with my own words, is really that people agreed on a new approach to bring the Caribbean together. Actually, there's an initiative started, what is now under the leadership of the Jamaica minister, Bartlett. It's called Reimagine. Also, the Caribbean Tourism Board has a new chairman, what is the Minister of Tourism from Cayman, Mr. Bryan, who seems to be very motivated. And I think we're going to see some changes in this organization. What many said was stuck in old traditions and in non-productivity. I'm very convinced this will change, and is already changing. People are talking about regional airline hubs, looking at other markets, like Minister Bartlett is very close now with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. There's a lot of new initiatives. Barbados is getting very close with Africa in getting new traffic in from Africa. What is logical? People are looking, even though everyone recognizes the United States is and will remain the main market, we're looking for alternatives, because everyone realized the economy is not built on steel, and there are other opportunities. Also, new direct flights from Europe are coming in, like specifically from the UK, from Germany, from Holland, all non-stop flights into various regions of the Caribbean. When I left, there was a British Airways flight going to London. There was another flight going to Frankfurt. So it looks like the Caribbean is on the move. It is apparently in many parts of the Caribbean, we heard reports from 16 ministers of tourism, is very promising. Every island is trying to keep its own niche. So, for instance, Anguilla said, we don't hire any foreign workers. We want to keep it all at home and have the original experience. Others say, we're concentrating, we're doing a lot in regards to community tourism, farm tourism, and so forth. So every island is trying to keep its niche, but I think is good. It looks like also numbers for some of the islands actually exceeded the numbers from 2019. This does not apply for the Cayman Islands. Cayman Island is still relatively low. But they're also the last country that just opened, I think, about a month ago after COVID. But many other nations in the Caribbean, business is back to normal and better when it comes to numbers.
Yes, and they may actually, depending upon what goes on in Europe this winter, this is a wonderful opportunity for the Caribbean, because there's at least a lot of talk in Europe that this may be the coldest winter, and many of the restaurants are going to have to close because of lack of fuel. I just got a report from the UK, which expects 70% of all restaurants in the United Kingdom to close. Spain is putting up signs saying to people, this winter, if there's no fuel, we may have to close restaurants. And you don't want anything that bad to happen to people in Europe. But on the other hand, if it is that cold and that's a problem, this is an opportunity for the Caribbean to really fill in the gap. And even for Europeans to get out of the cold and be able to have some warm time, especially if they don't have much heat in their homes this winter.
Yeah, in Europe, it's already chilly. I was in Europe just a few weeks ago, and it was wonderful. I've never had weather like this. It was like a dream. Every day was warm, blue sky, and it was just beautiful. And that apparently has changed. Talked to my sister in Germany just a few hours ago, and they said it's freezing cold here now, and we're going to have to start turning our heaters on.
Yes.
So yes,
now, the problem
things
is
can change.
If Germany runs out of fuel, which is very possible, and England is expecting to run out of fuel, etc., and the cost is going up tremendously, your system may not be able to afford to turn the heat on, or there might not be any fuel to have heat, and so that's going to create a whole new world.
Yeah, we'll see. People are really not expecting it's going to get that bad, but we play it by the day. I'm sure there's always, you can always speculate the worst, but you can also be optimistic.
First of all,
yeah.
you always speculate the worst because that's good risk management. But secondly, certainly police in Europe are preparing for potential heat riots. So I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm saying they certainly are preparing for that, understanding they may have a major fuel shortage, and this may be a really difficult situation, especially because some countries really went green when they were too early. They closed down areas. And a big problem we have now is even if they want to bring back nuclear power, they haven't built anything for so long that no one remembers how to do it. They're having to literally relearn the lessons, and the people who are the engineers are no longer around. So it's a real challenge for Europe. Of course, in the United States, when it decided to cancel pipelines, that meant that the United States, which was an exporter in the last 2 years, is now an importer instead of an exporter, and so the United States cannot help Europe. So that's a real, it could be a real challenge. It may not happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm saying in planning, you have to think about the fact that these may be real problems that Europe is going to face much harder than it ever expected.
Yeah, no, and we'll see how it goes. Um, I don't think anyone can really predict what's going on, but it is a challenging situation everywhere in the world. If you look at the economy, even in our own country here, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I think that's also why the Caribbean is looking for alternative markets, because they know we don't know if the economy in the United States, what is the main source market, is going to remain strong enough to bring these high spending tourists to
Well,
our
as you
shores.
know, last week was the worst week in the stock market since 2000. So it's been a very hard week in the United States. The stock market on 2 days ago had a drop of over 1,000 points, the biggest drop since the beginning of COVID. And there's a lot of, and they're talking about raising interest rates a full percentage point, both in the United States and in Europe, which means that the cost of borrowing money will become incredibly expensive.
Yeah, not only that, it's an indication for increased inflation also, and so it and if it doesn't, if the salaries are not following this trend, yes, it
Well,
really
you were
is not
away.
a good situation.
I don't know if you saw, just speaking of the United States, but the United States 2 days ago, which is what caused the drop in the stock market, had the worst inflation. It went, it increased to by 8.2%, and that was really a disaster. So people, unless you have just money that's going up, most people are today poorer than they were a week ago.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely the case, not only in the United States. I think this is a global situation because of mostly, I think, because of the Ukraine crisis, and we don't know where this all goes. There are no new crises showing up. They're on the world scale, not that important, but another two former Soviet republics, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, are now pretty much in a state of war, fighting at each other, and said they have high level of casualties. So it's not a peaceful world, unfortunately, these days.
Yeah, and it's actually much more than just Ukraine. That's an easy way to blame everything, which is not really true. The United States was having major inflation problems long before the Ukraine. It's the fact that when they canceled major pipelines coming from Canada, that created a major inflation, and it created and of course the immigration problem, which has now gone beyond out of control in many parts of the world, has become a real problem. And these are going to impact. So this is an opportunity actually for the Caribbean to take advantage of some of those negatives and hopefully create a positive thing, or at least give people a little time to breathe when they're struggling with all the problems that they're having at home.
Well, Peter, we're going into interesting times. I'm sure we're going to talk more in a few days. And for those that are watching us, there's going to be a short session from Nigeria, actually. Just stay tuned. And everyone else, I wish you have a nice Sunday and a nice weekend.
Enjoy your vacation, and I hope you're luxuriating in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And to our watchers, this is a guy who goes from the Greek islands to the Hawaiian Islands to Florida to the Caribbean. So we have a world traveler on the other side of the screen from me. Yeah.
Well, I think Peter, you're not. You're pretty much in the same boat, and it all sounds very exotic. I mean, you see beautiful hotels, and I have to say I do enjoy it, but it is a lot of work. I mean, you get
Yeah.
up at 6 in the morning, you go to bed at midnight, and you really have no time for yourself sometimes. But today is different. This is my day. I have nothing to do except talking to you and to
Yeah.
our readers, what I
And
really
of
enjoy.
course, you know why. Today's Saturday, so you're having a very relaxing Shabbat.
Yes, okay. If I was Jewish, yes, it would be. Otherwise, it's a very relaxing Saturday following with a Sunday. I mean, I'm going to be on the plane all day Sunday, so who, what can beat this? But
All right.
anyway, Peter, I hope you have a good trip
Take
to
care.
Washington,
Bye bye.
and we see you next time from Washington. And for everyone else, if you missed the beginning of this, just simply wait for a couple of hours or an hour, and it will restart. Or you can go to breakingnewsshow.com, or of course, you can always find us on our YouTube and Vimeo channel. And for everyone from Fort Lauderdale, have a good day. Bye
Bye
bye,
bye.
and stay tuned.
Welcome back again. We're now going from Hawaii to Lagos, Nigeria. And in Lagos, we welcome Joseph, and I probably pronounced this wrong, Joseph. See how much I know about Nigeria. Not much. But he's the head of Molon Creation. He will tell us a lot more what it is. And he will actually be attending the Reset event we've talked about a few times in London at the Churchill Hotel in London. Beautiful hotel. I've stayed there myself a few times. A lot of the people from the UAE actually like to stay there, and it's a great location. If you do go to Reset, my recommendation is try the high tea. It's one of the best I ever had, and definitely a must. And across the street from that place is this Pakistani restaurant. Wonderful place to have lunch or dinner. But anyways, Reset is coming closer. It's on the 16th of September. It's an all-day event. And it's about resetting the travel and tourism industry, and it's really worth participating. So if you are in London, you can go to our website at wtn.travel/reset, wtn.travel/reset, or simply on any of our websites, click on events, and you can register. We will also live stream a number of sessions from London here on our network at the Breaking News Show on eTurbo News, Aviation, and all our various platforms. And we will see Joseph there. Joseph, tell us a little bit more. Why are you going to London?
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me, Jorgen, on the Breaking News Show. And we are very happy to partner with the TLC Harmony, who are the organizers of the Reset Summit 2022 in London. And Mall of Fame Nigeria is the African coordinating body company, and we are the representative in Africa, Nigeria. And our sole aim is to bring in private sector stakeholders and public sector leaders to attend this summit to learn a bit of sustainability. Mall of Fame Nigeria is a project that supports tourism development in Nigeria from generations. We have a generational plan, and that's from the young generation to up to the public sector and the corporate bodies. And recently, we were approached by TLC to work with them on the Reset Summit, and we're very happy to be able to get a lot of private sector leaders to attend, and myself and other tourism enthusiasts and tourism companies who want to learn so much about sustainability. We're very grateful to the Reset Summit team, and I will mention very clearly Nikki Page and Leo Downer and Kirk Heather, and also the former Secretary General, Dr. Talib of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, for giving me the platform. And yourself as well, thank you.
Oh, and it's great you will be in London. And when we talked a little bit before the show, what I really liked is that you believe in the younger generation in tourism. And we have to educate the younger generation, because this world is changing, and sustainability is such an important factor. Climate change is such an important factor. and this world is unpredictable. So looking in a crystal ball, how do you see the future for tourism, or let's say for tourism to Nigeria? Now, Nigeria is, for those that haven't been to Nigeria and don't know Nigeria, is one of the major economic powers actually in Africa. Even though it's not yet such a huge tourism destination, but it's the driver of almost anything in Africa, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I would say very clearly that the Mall of Fame Nigerian team, and who are present with me even on this interview, I will introduce them very shortly. We believe in Nigeria and the tourism that will help in our per capita income and also the FDI, foreign direct investment. But we are very particular about the private sector, pulling the public sector, who are the regulators. And the private sector has been very good in Nigeria to support tourism development at every level. And Mall of Fame Nigeria, we got into a lot of research 2 years ago, and we said we're going to do tourism at the international level, bringing international companies to partner with private sector, where we introduced the e-tourism business awards and summit conference in February this year. It was a very successful summit, and we partnered with World Tourism Association for Culture and Heritage, Mr. Chris Flynn. He was there with us. Good Tourism Institute, Netherlands, Center Smart Tourism, Kazakhstan, Germany, and other people from different parts of the world who, just like you, believe that Africa, Nigeria has the potentials to improve tourism generally. But what we have done so far is also take tourism to the next future generation, which is the schools, meaning that we want to change the curriculum of schools to include tourism studies. And we had what we call the Future Kids Project. And the Future Kids Project is a competition and award for schools who have to put in their school cultures tourism as part of growing up for the children. And so we put this together, and we're very happy once again that the private sector in Nigeria have supported this project. This includes Domino Stores, Eat and Go Limited, Domino, Cold Stone, Studio 24, Brain Foods, Autism Foundation. And what we did, again, is to make sure that tourism supports CSR. What I mean by that is the Future Kids Competition and Award is supporting autism, children living with autism. As much as we want tourism to be beautiful and commercialized, we also want to ensure that the world understands that for sustainability, we have to do a bit of CSR, which is supporting children with autism. And that's why I got a team together on this project. Some of them are here. They're going to introduce themselves in a couple of moments. They are professionals in registered nutritionist, AIDS broadcaster, and all of that. We got the team together to do this.
Well, that's wonderful, and Nigeria definitely will have a bright future in tourism, and there's so much more than actually what extends to the tourism sector in Nigeria. What I understand is fashion is a huge industry, what falls within tourism somehow, and so is music, right?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Music is very big in Nigeria and is doing a lot. But remember, the music is growing, and the young generation have to learn to commercialize music. And it's not for one person, it's just not for one group of person. It's supposed to grow big. America, they had this model to make their music a tourism sector. And now, even from the 90s to now, you can still sing songs from the American community and you still enjoy it. So we want to do that for Nigeria as well. And you're right, music is big in Nigeria.
And you have two guests you brought today, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And we are very inclined to the public sector as well. Recently, Nigeria launched the Imagine Nigeria project, which is supposed to change the national narrative and of course to have a culture of innovation. It's a beautiful project launched by the presidency, and we will be partnering with them in a bit based on activation for that. And there's a plan for Nigeria to move forward in image and national narrative. And this starts from the young generation. The youths are very important to the development of Nigeria. I believe that with the Mall of Fame Nigerian projects, we will be going to the universities as well. We have what we call the campus honors. That's going to happen next year, first fall of next year, first quarter. And we have a team that will do that. So Mall of Fame Nigeria is very proud to be part of Reset Summit. We're there to also learn a bit about sustainability, even from companies such as yours, who are very experienced in this, and what you're doing for the world, so to speak, and Africa. We're inclined to work with you.
Yeah, and the world is interchanged. I just came back last week from Malta and had a conversation with Julian Zarb, who is also very much involved in what you're involved, but for the Mediterranean. And they have maybe a little bit of a different problem. The problem really, not only in the Mediterranean, even here in Hawaii, where I'm at, is a lack of less and less people actually are seeking job opportunities within the travel and tourism field. What makes the operation of tourism a big challenge. It's not only the maids, they're no longer there. It's now a shortage of pilots in all sectors of the industry, and encouraging young people and making young people understand the advantages to work in this field is so important. Do you have similar issues? Probably not in Nigeria, where you have a lack of people. Are you looking for people who wanted to work in the tourism field, or you have enough people who maybe wanted to look to work outside also Nigeria or elsewhere in the world, and fill some of the gaps?
Oh, that's a very good question. I've worked in the hospitality industry, thankfully, and I was the group head of business development, and we noticed that, yes, we had what we call the foreign direct investment through employing expatriates who come to the country to teach on tourism. This is necessary because, yes, we are still a growing growing professional tourism community, or as a country, and we need a lot of help. Yes, a lot is being done by the National Tourism Development Corporation to, of course, regulate what we call the employment of personnel for each aspect of hospitality, hoteling, traveling, and all of that. And it is developing. But I will say very clearly, we need more partnership with sectors and institutions like yours outside the country to develop very strictly a tourism standard for the travel industry and, of course, the hospitality industry. This cannot be changed. And that's why we said, look, that we should have what we call a plan to include tourism in the curriculum of Nigerian schools as a subject. And thankfully, Mrs. Nana Yakubu, she just launched a national curriculum book for schools in Nigeria. I mentioned her name because we worked with her, and she worked so hard to include that in the curriculum, and that's a big one. I think that's one of the first African countries, just like Kenya recently included coding for their school as a thing. For we have a plan, and I say again that we will drive on the Imagine Nigeria project from the presidency, who has almost like a 50-year plan to change the narrative for the country.
Wow, teaching tourism into school. I haven't heard this, and this is definitely a very interesting initiative. And so the lady we see here, we haven't given her the chance to say anything. She's involved in this plan in teaching tourism.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Yes. Yes. I will introduce first. Her name is Ijoma Ugu. Can you just introduce yourself, Ijoma?
You have to unmute yourself, please.
Okay. Yes, I have done that.
Okay, there we go.
Good morning. Yes, I am Ijoma Ugu. So I am a human nutritionist and a food scientist. but I've over the years channeled my energy into catering for individuals with neurological impairments. So there has been a surge in the number of children coming down with a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. Right. And when I started this, it was unheard of that nutrition could play a part in their management and future potentials. But yes, I'm happy that today I've managed to drive that consciousness into the public. A lot of awareness have gone in. Parents are coming out to seek for nutritional help for their children. So basically, I offer this services to families and individuals affected by autism spectrum disorder, managing them with nutritional approaches. And on my food science part, I also manufacture food products that are hypoallergenic, which they can eat and be comfortable with. So that's basically who I am. I am involved with Mall of Fame Nigeria, trying to drive that inclusiveness. I mean, as you speak about tourism, you have to include everyone. It seems like in our community, we are always seeking for attachments, but yes, we have to include even the less abled in all we do. So we bring in the health aspect and inclusiveness aspect of the project to the public so that everyone can actually partake in the talent hunt. I'm talking about the project at hand now. So that is me, and that is what I do. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. And I think I couldn't agree more with you. Inclusivity in tourism is definitely a must. But just real quick, you said nutrition and autism. Autism is connected, so
yes.
Heard that.
They have a lot of physiological anomalies or peculiarities that nutrition can actually address. They come down with a lot of gastrointestinal problems. They have conditions that have to do with mitochondrial functions. So you have a lot of them having constipation because their fine muscles cannot churn food properly. They can't defecate properly, so they can't chew properly because of muscle issues. So nutrition comes in. They have a lot of feeding challenges. As a matter of fact, that was my topic of research in my recent studies. And they have a lot of feeding challenges, which is affecting their nutrient intake and invariably affecting their nutritional status. And we know that for the brain to also recover, you need a lot of nutrients to provide the energy and the nutrients. So because of their feeding challenges, they don't get enough nutrients. And even if they get, they have a lot of issues in their gastrointestinal system, which hinders nutrient absorption and nutrient utilization. So offering the right nutrition and in the right form goes a very long way to counter this lack of nutrient intake and improves even on the development, the mental development you seek for. I could go on and on, but
I think we should go on maybe at another time. Have a special session on nutrition. I would love to invite you because this is such an interesting subject, and especially here in the United States, it's a very hot issue. So let's for another event. We're a little bit over time here already, but there's one more guest I think maybe you can introduce.
Yes, she's a board of award and she's an ace broadcaster and presenter, Ubeng Obong, and she has been there promoting culture and art and tourism in Nigeria for so many years. She's well known from the popular Akwa Ibom state, and she's known nationally, and she's an awardee of different awards. Ubeng, over to you.
I think you have to unmute yourself also, please. There we go.
I've done that. Good morning from Nigeria. I don't know if it is afternoon or whatever over there.
Evening here.
Okay. I am a long-time broadcaster. I am a music educationist or music educator, and I am in charge of all the music teachers in my state. We organize because we look at the children as leaders of tomorrow. And we say we cannot go to any other place than focusing on the children. So we do this competition every year, calling on schools to compete. We give them pieces to sing. We give them a particular dance to perform, and they do, and they go home with some prizes. And then I use this too on my program, on my TV program. I do a program known as Music Maker, where we learn how to do music using the theory of music, but we just use the everyday life. For example, we use music to learn how to count. We use music to learn how to spell, and on and on and on. And now I am into Mall of Fame project. I know that with Joseph, we are going to get tourism. We're going to give it a name. We're going to lift it to higher height in Nigeria and across the nation. And I mean, across the international market. We're packaging something. And I know Joe will let you know more of what we're doing. We're focusing on the children. We want them to know that they can compete without any bias. And if they make it with smiles. If they can't make it, they can't make it with smiles. You know, that is what is lacking in Nigeria. People don't want to fail because they feel when they fail, they are a failure. They don't know that when you fail, that's the beginning of your success. So we're into that. And because of time, I want to let you know that we're in together to make a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Wonderful. The way you said it, it's absolutely fantastic. So we should also talk a little bit more about it. But Joseph and everyone, thank you so much for your time and being on the Breaking News show today. And specifically, good luck at Reset in London. Again, this was just a glimpse of what you will hear at Reset. There are a lot more speakers at the event. And if you are in London on the 16th of September, go to wtn.travel/reset, wtn.travel/reset, and you can still register. If you're not a member of the World Tourism Network, please join us. Also go to wtn.travel and click on join, and we would love to have you on board. And those that are watching the Breaking News show, if you missed the beginning of it, just stay tuned. We're going to repeat it every 2 hours for the next 24 hours from the beginning, depending when you watch us. And after this, you find us on YouTube, on Vimeo, and on our own live stream. So you have an opportunity to watch this and any of our other shows again anytime you like. Well, good morning to Nigeria. It's now nighttime here in Honolulu. We hope, we wish success for everything you're doing. It sounds quite exciting, and a good time in London, and please stay safe. And I hope we see you again soon. We say aloha from here. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.